today I decided to finally come on and share a little bit something interesting, and that is the Dan and Doctor Who the debate. Although sadly you cannot see their their faces because they did it fully on Twitter, and how you cannot hear the thing. I find that a little bit boring. That when you stream, you should be able to at least show your face. But apparently that is not the case in this thing. So let's get to it. And I'm going to pause in the middle. I'm going to pause in the middle and see what they say in the middle. I'm going to share my screen on Twitter. So the host was, let's go to it. We're going to do this. Share screen. No. And we're going to open this on Twitter. Let's get to it. So what's interesting is that not many people have seen this. I don't know, some have, some haven't. And when two Arabs fight, I know there's been like a lot going around regarding the Arabs and how they had some disagreements with each other because they felt that, like, for example, Jassim was saying to Dr. Huda that, who said no to the Palestinians so many times. And as he said in his previous statement on my last stream, that the Arabs are colonized, but one thing you must understand, that not every single Muslim comes from the Arab tribe. They come from multiple tribes, not the same tribe as the Arabs. Arabs hold a separate history with Jews, and other Muslims have their own history with Jews. They're not connected at all. So people need to get that one thing accurately correct. So when I play this stream, I'm also going to show a couple of the comments and a couple of the things what Muhammad Hijab stated. Although I said this a while ago, not many people believed me on this. I said this a while ago that eventually Muhammad Hijab is going to get caught because he's a liar and he's not telling the stuff accurately as he should. He's making stuff up and giving his own personal statements. And the fact is that I've also that not many people believed me, is that eventually Muslims are going to cut their own ways because of their own personal history, not because every single Muslim is not part of the same history, just like how Christians, for example, French history of Christians is not part of the American history of Christians, or Egyptian Christians are not part of the American history of Christians. Every Christian comes from a different background and continent, and people need to get that straight because people are going in one angle direction, which is not accurately right. So stay tuned, y'all, and I'm going to start the play, and let's see what they talk about. Because I tell you, Arabs, when it comes to their debates, they listen to nobody. They have a difficult time with each other. What makes you think they'll listen to us? I'm not saying Arabs are bad people because I'm friends with many. And I'll say my point of view, what I agree and what I disagree with according to facts. And I feel like this is the time to say it, and let's get to it. So here we go. I'm going to play it where everybody can listen to it and they can see what he is talking about. So let's get to it. Which window is it? Man, oh man. Okay, here we go. Play.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to this debate. So I have 10 minutes. I don't have a written statement, so I have 10 points. I will try to speak about each point in 1 minute. Please, Ahmed, if you can give me like a heads up 1 minute before, I appreciate that. All right, so we both agree that this is a religious war. But is it an Islamic religious war or a Jewish religious war? I want to start by talking about the Jewish history and continuity in the land. So during the time of Christ, and here we can go to the Emperor Hadrian, for example, when he called that region Palestine. We have Bernard Lewis and we have David Jacobson claiming in their books that there was no distinct group called Palestinians at the time in the land, at the time of Christ, or in the 2nd century when the Emperor Hadrian called the land Palestinia. So when we connect the Palestinian people. When we talk about Palestinian people today, Arabs in the land, they try to connect themselves to the Palestinians mentioned in the Bible. There is no evidence, no historical evidence that the people in the land today or before 1948 connected in any way, shape, or form to the group of people called Palestinians mentioned in the Old Testament. They simply did not exist at the time of Christ. And the Emperor Hadrian, he called the land Palestinia because he wanted to sever the link between the Jewish people and their land, Judea and Samaria. All right, so we have the Islamic occupation of the region, started with Sharh ibn Hasna, the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, and of course, we know that the Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, or Jerusalem, was hijacked as a result of a political conflict between Abdul Malik bin Marwan and Abdullah ibn Zubair. We know that Abdullah ibn Zubair was controlling Mecca and Abdul Malik bin Marwan was controlling the Levant. And as a result, Abdul Malik bin Marwan did not want the people of the Levant to go and do pilgrimage in Mecca because he did not want Abdullah ibn Zubair to influence them. That's why we have a Masjid al-Aqsa was built, the Dome of the Rock were built in Jerusalem, in the same spot of the Jewish temple. Now, how do we know that? From Islamic resources. We have, I don't have the time to go through all the hadith or the narratives, but I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Because somebody called my phone. I'm on the phone. That's a mistake.
Yeah, loud and clear.
So I can refer you to an article I wrote on my website, www.daniburmawi.com, in which I explained in details the narratives that we have proving that Al-Masjid al-Aqsa mentioned in the early Islamic resources was in the area of Al-Ja'rani in the north of the Saudi Arabia. The narrative that Al-Masjid al-Aqsa is located in Jerusalem was manufactured during the time of Abdul Malik bin Marwan, and we have from historical resources evidence that the Muslims in the Levant and in Egypt, they did pilgrimage to Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, which was built by Abdul Malik bin Marwan, and they were forbidden from going and doing pilgrimage in Mecca. Okay, I believe that took more than 1 minute. Okay, during the time that Muslims ruled the region, so-called Palestine or historical Israel, the Jewish presence was tolerated. And actually, it was tolerated all the way until 1924. Actually, Muslims were better toward Jews in certain periods than Christians. Christians were brutal toward Jews. But here's the question. Why Muslims were tolerant of the Jewish presence in the land? Because, ladies and gentlemen, because Jews were living under the umbrella of the Islamic Caliphate. As long as minorities are willing to live under the Islamic supremacy, there is no problemo at all, Habibi. However, once a minority group decides that they want sovereignty, oh, look at the Druze in southern Syria today. What's happening to them? Okay, the same thing. So Jews were welcomed in the land starting in 1876, even though the Jewish continuity in the land never ceased. However, the Jews were welcomed. The Ottoman tried to stop them for a while because the Ottoman did not want any group that would advocate for nationalism, because they did not want that nationalism, which is contagious from their perspective, to spill to the Arab populations. However, after that, they were welcomed. They built the city of Tel Aviv in 1909. They built institutions, Port of Haifa in 1912. They were welcomed. Arabs were migrating from the surrounding countries or regions to join the Jews in the prosperity that they brought from Europe, and they were building in the land. The mayor of the city of Madaba in 1919, the city of Madaba in Jordan, he wrote in Al-Manar magazine an article, a letter to the people in Eastern Jordan, and I quote, "We welcome the decision of His Majesty, the King of Britain, to bring more of the great Zionist nation into the land so that we can participate in the prosperity that they are bringing." All right? So that is a fact. There was no objection to the Jewish presence. However, and here's the thing, Sharif Hussein, he wanted to relocate the caliphate from Istanbul to Mecca because he believed that he had more legitimacy. He was the descendant of the Prophet, and therefore he wanted the caliphate to be relocated. He did not join the British to fight the Ottoman Islamic Caliphate. He joined the British to relocate the caliphate from Istanbul to Mecca. However, the British and the French, they wanted to introduce the concept of a new nation to the region, the same concept that was invented in Europe after the Westphalia Treaty. So they were not plotting against Arabs. They were not following the divide and conquer thing. No, it was the successful decentralized system of nation states, modern nation states, and it was introduced in the Arab world. The irony is that Arabs today, they celebrate Independence Day, they celebrate their nation states. However, when you talk to them privately, they would say, oh, the Sykes-Picot was a conspiracy. They plotted against Islam. This is the cognitive dissonance among Muslims. But anyway, Ahmed, how long have I been speaking? Because,
you have 2 minutes left.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Now, the jihad against the Jewish state started after the fall of the Ottoman Caliphate. Why? The Muslim Brotherhood, established 4 years after the fall of the Ottoman Caliphate, they realized that Islam without a state does not stand, because Islam is a state. Islam is not a religion. Islam has a religion. Your car is not a radio. Your car has a radio. So Islam is a state. And they wanted to re-establish the caliphate. However, they couldn't do that. Why? Because the semi-secular Arab leaders who embraced the concept of nation state would have crushed them. Therefore, they manufactured the grievance of Palestine, which was a name or a label for a geographic spot. They hijacked it, and suddenly it became the name of a nation state called Palestine that never existed in history. If there has ever been a nation called Palestine, why Jordan and Egypt did not create that nation between 1948 and 1967 when they controlled Gaza and the West Bank? The borders that they claim today, they advocate for, and they claim that Israel doesn't want to give it back. Well, Bibi Netanyahu realizes that this is a religious war, an Islamic religious war, and that's why he stood against Ishaq Rabin and the school of Ishaq Rabin that wanted to give the Palestinian a state and withdraw to the 1967 borders, which would have exposed Israel, making the width of Israel only 9 miles at the tightest spot, and that would have been suicidal from Israel. Thank you so much.
All right, you have 15 seconds left. Thank you very much. Dr. Hutham, jump in.
Okay, thank you. So the question today is the Palestinian-Israeli conflict primarily a cause of an Islamic war or a Jewish war? And my answer is extremely clear. It is the cause of a Jewish war, a war created by a state project that defines sovereignty, immigration, national identity, and demographic control around Jewishness. What I'm saying is very specific. The modern conflict is not caused by Islam refusing Jewish existence in Palestine. The modern conflict is caused by Jewish nationalism demanding Jewish sovereignty over a land where a non-Jewish Palestinian population already lived. This is the issue. The argument is not about whether Jews can live in Palestine, because Muslims already answered that question historically. Jews did live there. Jews lived under Umayyad rule. In fact, the Umayyads brought them there. The Umar al-Khattab brought them there. They lived under Abbasid rule. They lived under Mamluk rule, under Ottoman rule. They had their own communities. They worshipped. They were part of society, right? Yes, they were not treated as modern, liberal equals, but they were not treated as a people whose, presence has to be erased from the land. So if the claim is that Islam is the cause of this war, I ask a very simple question. Where was this endless Islamic war against Jewish existence during the many centuries of already Muslim rule, right? If Islam itself was the problem, then the Muslim empires that ruled over the land should have made Palestine empty of Jews, but they did not. The Ottomans ruled Palestine for roughly 4 centuries. Jews lived in Jerusalem, in Hebron, in Tiberias, and other places. The Ottoman system was not secular democracy. It was an Islamic imperial order with hierarchy. But it did not operate on the principle that Jews could not live in the land. And I quote, even Britannica, when discussing the Ottoman millet system, describes it as a system where religious communities had recognized communal organization under the empire. Again, this was not modern equality, but it was recognition, not elimination. Britannica also says that after the Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492, after the Reconquista, Sultan Bayezid II encouraged thousands of Jews to immigrate into the Ottoman Empire. That historical fact alone destroys the lazy claim that Muslim political civilization was inherently about erasing Jews. This matters because the modern conflict is not about Jewish residents. Palestinians did not rise up because of a few Jew or Jewish families that wanted to pray in Jerusalem or live around the area. The conflict became a problem when Jewish immigration became a political project of sovereignty, statehood, land acquisition, demographic transformation, and eventual control. That is the difference. There is a massive difference between Jews living under Muslim rule and a Jewish state ruling over the Palestinians while insisting that the state must remain Jewish. One is coexistence under Islamic sovereignty. The other is exclusive Jewish national sovereignty over a land with another native people. And this is where people, really become dishonest. They pretend the Palestinian objection is simply, we hate Jews. No, the objection is you are building a state that privileges Jews over the native non-Jewish population. That is not the same thing. If a Jewish person lives in Jerusalem as a neighbor, that is one issue, right? But if a political movement says Jerusalem and the land around it must belong to the Jewish people as a national homeland, and Palestinians must accept permanent subordination, displacement, fragmentation, or some sort of minority situation, that is a completely different issue. The conflict is not caused by Jewish existence. The conflict is caused by Jewish supremacy as a state structure. And I use the word supremacy here academically. I mean a political order where one group has superior national rights over the other group. Israel itself defines the state this way. This is not my own language, right? This is not something imposed on Israel. This is what Israel calls itself. Look at Israel's own Declaration of Independence from 1948. It proclaims the establishment of a Jewish state, right? That is not my label. That is Israel's founding language. Now look at the law of return. The Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs itself presents the law as giving every Jew the right to immigrate to the country. That means a Jew from New York, London, Paris, Moscow has an automatic national door into the land, while Palestinians, a Palestinian refugee from Haifa or Jaffa or Lida or around the whole region, does not have the same right to return to his own home. Okay, look at Israel's 2018 nation-state basic law. This is the official Knesset text, and it says that the right to national self-determination in the state of Israel is exclusive to the Jewish people. Exclusive to the Jewish people. So again, if the question is whether the conflict is Islamic or Jewish, or why would we blame Islam when Israel itself defines the state around Jewish national identity? It defines itself as a Jewish state exclusively for the Jewish people, right? And this is really the heart of the debate. Islamic rule never said no Jews may live here, right? The Jewish state says this land must remain under Jewish sovereignty exclusively for Jews. This is the key contrast here. Now, my opponent might say, but Israel has Arab citizens. Yes, and that does not refute my argument. It actually proves my point. Israel can tolerate Arabs as individuals or as a minority, but it cannot accept Palestinians as an equal national people with equal sovereignty if that threatens the Jewish character of a state. Even Israel's own official demographic summaries show that Arabs are around 1/5 of Israel's population. So yes, Arabs exist inside of Israel. Nobody denies that. But the question is not whether Palestinians can exist as a managed minority. The question is whether Palestinians can be equal national owners of the land. Can they return? Can they have sovereignty? Can they control their own borders? Can they have equal national self-determination? Can they become the majority without the system treating them as a catastrophe? The answer under Zionism is absolutely not. Absolutely no. Because if Palestinians became nationally equal, right, the Jewish state as a Jewish state is finished. So let us stop pretending that this is like about security or security is part of the conflict. That does exist. There is part of that. Every state talks about security, but security does not explain the deeper structure that we have here. The deeper structure is demographic and national. Israel wants enough Palestinians removed, contained, fragmented, or politically neutralized so that, again, the Jewish sovereignty remains dominant. The Jewish state remains dominant. Israel must be Jewish. The Palestinians never, Palestine must be Muslim or must be a Christian or must be not having Jews. Not at all. So this is not an Islamic war. This is a Jewish national war. Now compare this with the Muslim side historically. When the Muslims ruled Palestine, Jews were not sovereign, but they were present. Their religious link to the land was recognized in practice. Their communities survived. Muslim rule did not require the erasure of Jewish life. But modern Israel cannot allow full Palestinian national equality because that would undermine the entire definition of that state, the Jewish state. So if we are comparing religious civilizations, the record is not even close. Islamic rule allowed Jewish communal life in Palestine for centuries. Modern Jewish nationalism could not tolerate Palestinian sovereignty in Palestine. That is why the conflict is not fundamentally about religion in that sort of simple sense. It is not because the Quran says Jews cannot live here. It is not because Muslim woke up one day and decided that Jews should not exist in the region. That is historically false. The conflict is about a modern nationalist project that took a religious historical identity, the Jews, and turned it into a state. Okay, sorry, I got a call. And this is why calling it like a territorial conflict is, it's not fair. It's incomplete. Yes, it is territorial. Yes, but the territory is claimed through a Jewish national identity. The state is not simply a state of all citizens. It is the state of the Jewish people. That matters, right? That is not a minor detail. That is the engine of the conflict. If Israel were simply a neutral democratic state for everyone between the river and the sea, the argument would be absolutely different. But Israel is not that. Israel wants to be Jewish and democratic. And when those two collide, Jewishness wins. Okay? When democracy and Judaism collide, Judaism wins. This is exactly why Palestinians are seen as a democratic threat. A demographic threat. Just think about that. Why is a baby a threat? A Palestinian baby is not a tank. A Palestinian family is not a missile. A Palestinian birth rate is not an army. They are considered a threat because the state is built around maintaining Jewish majority and Jewish control. That is the issue. So when my opponent says that this is an Islamic war, he has to explain why Palestinian Christians resisted Zionism too. He has to explain why secular Arab nationalists resisted Zionism too. He has to explain why the conflict predates Hamas. He has to explain why the PLO was not originally an Islamist movement. He has to explain why the struggle was always about land, return, sovereignty, and disposition. Islam became more politically visible later, especially after the failure of the attempts of the secular nationalists.
Time.
And the rise of... Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead.
All right, 4 minutes rebuttal. Go ahead, Dan Ben Mali. Dan, we can't hear you. All right, I gotta recycle you. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Huda. All right, so of course, you wrote your statement before you listened to my opening statement, and that's why for the first 6 minutes, you were talking about things that I already responded to. You were talking about how the Jewish presence in the land was tolerated. Of course, I explained that in my opening statement, that the Jewish presence, or not even Jewish, Christian presence too, tolerated as long as they don't demand sovereignty. The moment they demand sovereignty, autonomy, then at that point, they are they are rebellious, and they deserve to die. Now, you are talking about Jewish supremacy, and yesterday with hijab, I shared your video and got like 250,000 views. You said, yeah, of course, Muslims have supremacy because they're Muslims. But of course, just forget about that. Okay, you did not even provide one single evidence, one point about how this is a religious war, a Jewish religious war. You didn't even mention one evidence. But let me tell you something, my friend. Israel must remain Jewish. Israel must remain Jewish. It is the only Jewish state. And if it's not Jewish, what do you want? You want one state? What's going to happen within 10, 20 years? Oh, Muslims are going to be like 99%, and Christians and Jews are going to be crushed. Of course, it has to be Jewish. For the survival of the Jewish people, the next generation of Jewish people, if they don't learn from the destiny, the fate of the minorities under Islam, so they would be stupid. Of course, it's suicidal not to be Jewish. But listen, if you want to prove that Israel was religious, then show me how. The Zionist, the pioneer, Theodor Herzl at Bal, he said that we are concerned about the pogroms in Russia and Eastern Europe. We need a state for our people. It was not based on biblical prophecies. So they were looking for a state to survive. And here's the evidence. Israel withdrew from Sinai. Why? Israel withdrew from Gaza. Why? From southern Lebanon. Why? Mohammed Hosni Mubarak testified that he was offered Israel to withdraw from the Golan Heights in exchange for peace. Why? Listen, my friend, Israel today is a Jewish state, but it is a democratic state. It is a secular state. It is a state that respects international rules. The problem is with Islam. Why am I saying that? As I said in my opening statement, the Arabs did not establish a state between 1948 and 1967, even though they had full control of Gaza and the West Bank. In the Declaration of Independence, the Israeli Declaration of Independence, go and Google it now and read it. Ben Gurion made sure it's written there. We call our Arab neighbors to build this state with us. The 150,000 Arabs, don't call them Palestinians. There is no such a thing as Palestinian. In 1963, the Palestinian, they took the flag of the Arab Federation of Jordan and Iraq, and they said, oh, this is the Palestinian flag. There were Arabs. The 150,000 Arabs who stayed in Israel, look at them today. Even you in the Gulf, you envy them for the freedom they have, for the prosperity they have. And now you're telling me that, Israel did not tolerate. No, it tolerates, but no sovereignty for non-Jews in the land of Israel. Why? Because if you share sovereignty, look what's going to happen. And I end with this. Just one last sentence. Look what happened to the Christians of Lebanon, my friend, because they shared sovereignty with Muslims. A century of suffering. A century.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Thank you. I don't think anyone has ever heard something like Palestine must remain a Muslim and Islamic state. Nobody has ever said that. Nobody has ever heard that. My opponent just now said Israel must remain a Jewish state. I think we agree. I think that, it is eventually a Jewish war. It's not an Islamic war. No Palestinian is doing this because it has to be an Islamic country. They're doing this because they are the native people of the land. And by the way, openings are openings. I don't have to rebuttal your case during your opening. But having said that, thank you. And I think that your rebuttal actually proved my entire case. And again, you said that Israel must remain Jewish. You repeated it. Israel must remain Jewish. Good. That is exactly my argument. You're not defending, this neutral democratic state. You are defending a state Their political survival, again, depends on one ethno-religious group remaining dominant. That is why I called it Jewish supremacy as a state structure. You did not refute that. You openly justified it, actually. And then you tried to attack Islam by saying, under Muslim rule, Jews and Christians were tolerated only if they accepted Islamic sovereignty. Fine, let us accept that for the sake of this argument. But then what is your model, right? Palestinians are tolerated only if they accept Jewish sovereignty? So you did not escape the supremacy thing. You only replaced Islamic sovereignty with Jewish sovereignty and then called it democracy. I mean, this is the contradiction that you have, Dan. You said minorities under Islam were fine until they demanded sovereignty, but that, is exactly your position towards the Palestinians. Palestinians are fine as a managed minority, fine as a fragmented people, fine as a people under control. But the moment that they demand equal national sovereignty, they demand citizenship in Israel, God forsake that, suddenly they become an existential threat. So your argument is not against supremacy. Your argument is Islamic supremacy is bad, Jewish supremacy is good. That is not a principle. That is tribal.
Yay, we can pause for a second. Yay, finally. I just had to wait. And I don't know what's up with my computer. Like, Grok is just like rotating everywhere. So, okay, so now that I can talk and my computer just stopped, it just let me monitor to X. It was frozen before. So, this is where I do agree with Dan. However, even though like Hoda has had me on my old Twitter, I'm off topic nowadays because I'm not really into Arab debates, and I'm not from the Arab tribe either that I can say anything regarding their debates. However, let me make something very clear, is that the Palestinians' narrative has nothing to do with narratives like Muslims from Baloch, Sindhi Muslims, Kashmiri Muslims, and all these other different type of Muslims. They have nothing to do with the narrative. They have their own history with the Jews in the South Asian tribes. Mostly comes from with the Pashtuns, because Pashtuns are actually, some say they are linked to the Israelites. The Pashtuns are. So like, I agree with what Dan said, that this is exactly what Jassim said too, that look, he said it to Huda many times, that how many times like have Palestinians have said, no, you cannot hold other Arab countries responsible based on what they did. They have their own relationship. Like recently, I'm not sure, I wonder if I can find this comment. I'm going to try because my X page is being a little glumpy. But he recently said to Huda, how many times have Palestinians said no? And until, what are you going to do? Hold all the Arab countries back forever, making peace would deal with Israel, just like how Jassim said that Kuwait would get attacked if it ever made relationship with Israel. And I believe he said that. So until this weirdo narrative comes together, none of the Arab countries can unite, because somebody is going to be stuck in the middle being attacked, which they don't understand. Same for, even though one thing I disagree with, that even though some people feel like, okay, militant nationalism means you, in the name of religion, you make your army. That was also Nazi Germany. In the name of religion, they killed 1 million Jews. Whatever their religion concept was, that was Nazi Germany. You could not be Jewish around Nazi Germany, right? Militant nationalists. Now, and half of these rules are man-made. Just like how Dan said that Palestinians are not in the Quran. And he's right. They're not in the Quran. So what's this personal concept about? It's about, even though Arabs want them to have self-determination, which is not quite worth it. It really isn't. Okay, they're better off with the democracy, but then Arabs do not accept exactly what Jassim said. They don't accept what they done to Kuwait, what they did to Egypt, what they did to Iraq, all these places. Still, it continues today, and some Arabs are not ready to accept. So this is where I support where Dan is actually correct. I'm not saying he's wrong. He's actually accurately correct. However, the religion part, I'm going to say no, because there are Nazi Germany like that too. Review Nazi Germany's where Jews could not be Jews in Germany due to the laws Germany had, and you can follow it. Everybody know how Hitler was. So this is where I disagree with him. I know he published a book. I can publish a book too, because I lived many cultures. In fact, when I was a child, my parents were so afraid to ever send me to Pakistan again because my brother had food poisoning, but I still had this vibe that now one day eventually I am still going to explore, see how it is. Did it ever change? What's the vibe? What is it like being over there? So yes, I went in like 2009. I went a couple of times. I get to wear jeans. I get to explore. And the only place I have not seen yet is the Gilgit and Pakistani Taurus areas, which I'm waiting to see. Everybody told me that, no, those places are nice. You should go, right? But when it comes to this connection, it is nothing related to Islam as much as the preachers are making it towards Islam. There's a difference. Using religion to get what you want are two separate things, and the Palestinians are using religion. This is where I feel like he's wrong. Half of the things that Palestinians preach due to the military rule, they state religion. Oh, in the name of religion, we should have freedom. In the name of religion, the land's going to be ours. How could it possibly say that religion's not being used? They are using religion. Military national is preaching stuff in religion to radicalize them. How could you possibly say it's not religion? Half of the stuff that they're preaching, it's not in the Quran itself, but they do use religion. I don't see how Dr. Huda does not understand that. I mean, they say it every day in the name of this, that, preaching religion sentences. We're supposed to do this. We're supposed to do that. I don't see how he does not see it. We all do. Even the Kuwaiti Arabs see it. Jordanian Arabs see it, but still the Saudis don't see it. It's complicated, but it's there. Listen.
Tribal preference. Now, you asked, where is the evidence that this is a Jewish religious war? The evidence is Israel itself. Israel's own Declaration of Independence calls it a Jewish state. The law of return gives Jews worldwide a special right to immigrate. That, God promised them that this land 4,000 years ago. The nation-state basic law says national self-determination in Israel is exclusive to the Jewish people.
This is where I feel like he's wrong, though, because Palestinians are from the Levant. Only few Arab nations were promised to be like what they are, like the Arabian Peninsula, or the Farsis, who are like, Farsis would be considered the Persian people, who are linked to the South Asian tribe as well. Few Arabs have Arab history, like the Jordanians also have an Arab history. Iraqis and Jordans are linked to the Hashemite ancestry. And I don't see how he doesn't get it. If you're going to look deeply into Arab history, you're not going to find anything related to Levant. Palestinians are from the Levant. I would love to know from somebody, where does it say Levant history? Anything towards them? What did they gain? What was their lifestyle in the Levant? The Palestinians are the Levant history. According to some Jews say that too. They are from the Levant. So if you're from the Levant, we can review this right now, right in front of our eyes. Okay, I'm going to pull it up right now and pause the screen. Like, okay, so Palestinians from the Levant. Where I need to move this, and I'm going to move this too. Levant, where they promised a land. Let's see, simple answer. People use Grok, you can use Google, you can use anything you want. Okay, well, there it is. I don't see how Arabs do not understand. It amazes me that they don't. Jordanians are ready to move on. Many people are exactly ready to move on. I don't see how do Arabs not understand this. It seems like a personal war to them more than what it actually is. I mean, hey, it says it right here. It never was to begin with, and they're still not ready to accept. Here it is. Palestinians are from the Levant, and here it is, right here. We're going to read it. Okay. The idea of the promised land comes from the Hebrew Bible, where God promises a land in the canon. Abraham's descendants, different religious political group interprets promise different ways. Palestinians are the modern people region known as the Levant. They're the Levant. But biblical promise is not originally described being made as Palestinians. As a modern national group, subject debated viewed differently by Jews, Christians, and Muslims. So these were like the Arabian Peninsula. Iraqis and Jordanians would be considered the Hashemites, and Babylonians somewhere around there from the same coast. Syrians will be considered Damascus, and Palestinians would be considered Levant. So you see, I don't see how people don't understand this even today. I mean, I'm matching all the texts together. Literally, I'm not even hiding anything anymore. I'm matching every single content text together. This is what everything says. And I still don't get it. Like Arabs like him, why don't they get it? Kuwait is ready to move on. Jordan is ready to move on. He's a Jordanian. He just because he converted into Christianity does not mean he never understood the concept. Even because I told you, Jordan took birth when Muslim Brotherhood was ruling in 1990s. Jordan is from the 1990s. So whatever he knows, Dan, is the Muslim Brotherhood ideology. That's when Muslim Brotherhood was new and during Israel's time. But that's not the religion itself. So there it says, so listen away. It's pretty interesting. I do not agree with a lot of things Huda's saying. He may be my friend, but I do not agree with a lot of things he's saying. No. That is accurately incorrect, even though Arabs have a difficult time understanding it. That's incorrect. If you are going to say that that is determination, then you are false, because that's not what history teaches at all, even though Palestinians are using religion, but that's not history itself. Now, is it? That's nothing at all. They're from the Levant, and they were never promised literally anything. And I don't see how people don't understand this well today, unfortunately. So let's listen to this, whatever's left of it. But yeah.
That is not my language, Dan. This is Israeli law and Israeli founding language. And when you say Israel must remain Jewish for survival, you are again proving that the conflict is organized around Jewishness, right? Now, whether Herzl was motivated by, pogroms or prophecy, that is irrelevant. A secular Jewish nationalist project is still a Jewish nationalist project, right? Now, you also brought up the Sinai, Gaza, southern Lebanon, blah blah blah. That proves nothing. Strategic withdrawal does not disprove Jewish supremacy inside the territory of which Israel wants to keep. Israel withdraw from Gaza becomes sovereignty for the Palestinians, and you want to claim that, and that is a joke. That is a joke. And then,
but Gaza was already given to the Palestinians in the time of Bill Clinton. I don't see how Huda can possibly miss that. It was an agreement given from the time of Bill Clinton, and Musharraf, who was ruling Pakistan at the time. Musharraf was also part of that deal when Gaza was given away. So I don't see how do they not see this stuff. But okay, which is redundant. It's everything is theirs. There's nothing to miss out. But yeah.
Also, you said, I actually have a question for you since your turn is coming. I don't want time to pass by. The question is simple. Was there a native Arabic-speaking population living there before the Jewish state building happened? If yes, well, we know the answer is yes. Did that population consent to being turned into a minority or a refugee population under a Jewish state? Right? And I think I would love for you to answer that question for me. Thank you.
You have 17 seconds left.
Yeah, 17 seconds. Let me respond to the hijab. The hijab, Muslims are superior context. We're talking about ethics and ethics as a Muslim, right? Not anything other than that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Go ahead, Abdul.
All right, thank you. It's funny, Huda, you said no one said that the Palestinian state should remain Muslim. Habibi, the constitution of the Palestinian Authority, not the Palestinian state, says or states that Islamic Sharia is the source or the main source of legislation. What are you talking about?
I'm not going to say his line, because as Huda says that, what does Islam have to do with anything? I don't think he understands that Palestinians use religion literally for everything. They use religion more than any other Arab. Any other Arab. Jordanians don't care. Kuwaitis don't care. They're ready to move on if Saudi makes up his mind already that, hey, let us go. We're ready to sign the agreement. But no agreement without the state, which has all the Arab states kind of tied up in a circle, that no, nothing's going to work till Palestine have a straight. But he's right, though. He's not wrong. He's actually right, because they use religion for everything when the religion does not say this stuff. It's amazing how they make the narratives go that the half of the stuff that they're teaching is not linked to religion. I'm ready to publish any source, any book written by something that they use Islamic Sharia as a military caliphate and religion toss, that it's the religion and we must do it. But the religion itself does not have this narrative. So how can the militant nationalists make it come true? My lifetime question, how can the militant nationalists impose this, enforce this, when the religion scriptures don't have these things? And how can he possibly say that? What does religion have to? Palestinians use religion for everything. Everything. That's how they get around with the narrative. You must be kidding, y'all. I don't agree with Hoda on that. He's fully 100% wrong. Wrong and just wrong. Everything to them regarding the land, they use religion when that's not what the religion says literally anywhere. There's no scripture, no thing, nothing related to almost anything. But yeah.
Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. It's all Islamic countries. Are you kidding me, man? Anyway, you said that replacing Islamic sovereignty with Jewish sovereignty. Of course. I'll tell you why. Islamic sovereignty is being practiced today in 56, 57 states, okay? Now, there is only one Jewish state, and that Jewish state, if they repeat the mistake of the Christian in Lebanon, what's going to happen to them? So there is no shame. There is no shame in saying, yes, sovereignty must remain Jewish because of survival. We need to survive. Look at Lebanon. I will tell you why Jews should never, ever, 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 as a former Muslim, I'm not a Jew, why Jews should never share sovereignty with Muslims. Because of Lebanon. Muslims in Lebanon imported all the Islamic causes and masqueraded under different things, Arab nationalism, Palestinian.
Okay, pause. This is what I'm going to say. Say the term Arab militant nationalism. Let me repeat myself. Arab militant nationalism. Okay, this is where Dan is incorrect. He is incorrect because, one, before the 1900s, even though there's a war right here where the Druze and the Christians got into a war, it's called the Mount Lebanon War, whatever it is, that's away from us. But back in the day when the monarchs, there's a history of the Yemenite monarchy king where the Jews lived. There's a history of Prince Faisal who ruled Iraq and Syria, the Muslim monarchy king. And this is where he is incorrect. I would say he is because he didn't exist. His country didn't exist at the time. And I don't know where Jordanians would be. I would consider part of Iraq or Syria maybe, but Jordanians, I don't know where they would be at the time because the stuff that's being taken place, there was a king. So when he says that, no, Muslims can't live, not Arab nationalism, Arab militant nationalism. And this took place from the 1800s to the 1900s. You can read your way down what happened to every single Muslim king versus the militant nationalists. And I streamed this a while back. If anybody paid attention, that when the Moroccan king, his most trustworthy advisor was his militant nationalist captain. And who would have thought he tried to kill his own king? Now imagine if he did that, many other militant nationalists tried to did that. So the term that he's saying, it should be Arab militant nationalists, not Arab nationalists, militant nationalists, because that's who is controlling currently, even today. And he needs to get that right.
Conflict, whatever, and destroyed the Switzerland of the Middle East. Christians in Lebanon had nothing to do with all this, all these causes. But Muslims, they invited them. They imported them. So yes, Israel should never share sovereignty, but Muslims are welcome to live in Israel, not as what did you call them? A minority. No, it's like they're welcome to live with full rights, but they don't get to have sovereignty over the land. Okay. Now, everything you said proves that it's, for example, an ethnic war, and you said it's not relevant if they use their scripture. What are you talking about? The entire point of the debate is if this is a religious war. You are proving that it's not religious from the Jewish.
Okay. So I'm going to say what I agree with and what I disagree with because I'm not an Arab Muslim. I have full right to disagree. Okay? What I agree with, that Dan is right in some ways, is that how the Palestinian are using religion for this one, when the religion itself does not teach that, hey, you need to achieve this land. There's no scriptures, there's no thing. The Palestinians are Levant Arabs. I just showed that to everybody. They're Levante Arabs. Not Kuwaiti Arabs, not the Hashemite Arabs, not the Arabian Peninsula Arabs as the Saudis are. They're the Levant Arabs, okay? And they go back, some say they were Jews, some say they were Jews who converted to Islam, whatever. They are Levante Arabs. And they go back in the days of the Levant, okay? Now, to them, you can't just war, because you need to, you need to war. No, I've been saying this forever and ever and ever, even though there's high content creators who are using religion as a key, that this is no. Arab militant nationalists, okay? So they use the concept of religion because a long time ago, a Christian told me, and I never took this seriously. I'm like, what are you talking about? These guys use religion as a concept that this land belongs to them when there is no scripture. No scripture, yes. Ishmael's kids, they have no link to Ishmael's kids either in order to claim they have link to this land. Ishmael's children had link to certain lands, which is what the Arab tribes comes from. But these Arabs, they don't have link to Ishmael either. So, where does this ethnic scripture come from? Yes, and the Muslims who are not part of the Arab tribe, they were Muslims, but the scripture was sold throughout the years to militant nationalists that they get paid to worship the scripture. So there's a difference. Yes, they use religion as a key, but it's not the religion itself. There's a difference. It's very easy to say, oh, but Muhammad instructed this. Well, Muhammad instructed a lot of things that the people don't follow. One of them is help your community. The militant nationalists never did that. One of them is also to be fair to other Muslims, like the Kurdish or the Persians, and Persians would not be considered Muslim anymore, but they're part of the South Asian tribes, like the Kurdish, the Alawites, and all these other different ethnic group Muslims, like the Baloch, the Kashmiris. These are all different type of Muslims. Are Muslims fair to these type of Muslims? Instead, they're getting the bait of being killed? No, they are not. So that's what Muhammad said, that you had to be fair to every single Muslim. Are they following it? No, they are not. They're actually killing them if you look at it. All just to keep the Shia and Sunni alive. And so that's something I debated with my father. And he's like, no, you're right. I don't know why they do it. Why do they kill other Muslims when they're not supposed to? When Muhammad did not instruct any of those things, but Muslims do it. So this is where I say is you're either using religion for your personal war. And it seems like this is a personal thing too, especially in the Arab world. Not really other different Muslims who are not part of the Arab tribe, but it seems like it's a little personal thing to them, even though some Arabs did get injured by Palestinians, like the Kuwait did, Iraqis did, the Egyptians did, the Jordanians did. They all been affected. But why is it still a personal thing to them? May God help us. Why is it a personal thing to them?
Perspective, but from an Islamic perspective, it is Khaybar ya Yahud. It is an Islamic cause, and all Muslims, they side with Palestine because of its Islamic. Now, the last point, I'm not sure if I still have 30 seconds. The last point is this.
1 minute. You have 1 minute.
Oh, okay, good. So here's the last point. You keep saying Palestinians, their borders. What are you talking about, my friend? In Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Palestine, it was a region. Yes, Saudi Arabia was, it's like not part of it, but let's talk about Jordan and Syria and Lebanon and Palestine. There were Arab populations, not Syrians, not Lebanese, not Jordanian, not Palestinians. There were Arabs living under the Ottoman Caliphate. Now, when the Ottoman Caliphate fell, the Lebanese Patriarch Ahwayik and General Goro, they agreed to establish a nation state in Lebanon. In Syria, the different components of the Syrian people, they established a state. Jordan was giving to King Abdullah or Prince Abdullah to please...
Yeah, that's not gonna lie. He's on a good track over there. He's not lying about that. All you gotta do is read your way down in the exact order who was in charge and who was promised what and who took place in the time. So he's not wrong there. He's actually 100% correct. Read your way down for leadership and what. In fact, recently I was reading about this, even though the internet did take it down, is that how the Muslim Brotherhood gave threat to King Abdullah that if you make any peace with the Israelis, you're going to face consequences from us. Of course, the Muslim Brotherhood is all using the Palestinians as their personal war bots for glory, just like how I yell at Pakistanis sometimes. Do you believe in building a future? And Kashmiri is not in the Quran. Kashmiri is not in the teaching, but it's a thing for militant nationalists to make millions and millions of bucks. Oh, war! We need to war in Kashmir, but we don't need to worry about Pakistan. Oh, we need to free the Kashmiri people, but we don't need to worry about Pakistan's money. Oh, we need to free the Kashmiri people, but we haven't even given Baloch rights yet. As you can see, I yell about that all the time, and that is another question I asked my father, and he's like, no, you're right, and I'm mad at the military. I will always curse at the military. So the Arab nationalists would be like Arab nationalists who support like their country. For example, UAE versus the Saudi Arab. Saudi Arabs are going to support Saudi, UAE are going to support Saudi, and they're not going to tolerate anything related to their countries. That is Arab nationalism. This is where Dan is wrong. Militant nationalism is where he needs to be saying Arab militant nationalism, because that who are currently in control. And they took down a lot of the things that the monarchies have left for the non-Muslims, like the Christians and all these other peoples. You know, the monarchies, there's history about this, that how the Jews helped the Muslim monarchs build the country. These are words from Iraqis. Jews helped build Iraq during the days of the Muslim monarchs until Arab militant nationalists arrived. That's another story, and that's another history, and that's the current history in power right now using religion. And Palestinians are the only Levant, let me repeat myself, they're Levanti Arabs only using religion as an excuse when they have nothing. They have no religion connection, nothing. I bet the Quran doesn't even mention Levant. It mentions the Arabian Peninsula, Arabia, Persia, which is Iran, and Bnei Israel mentions that too, but nothing related to the Levant. So obviously there's no details linked to you. So why not just use religion to get around? You need something to get around, but yeah.
Sharif Hussein. And Jews, just like Christians and Muslims everywhere around them, they took a state, a nation state. What are you talking about? If they were Muslims, would you ever demand them to surrender sovereignty? Of course not. But because they're Jews. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say something that he said that is factually incorrect. He said that that the Palestinians can live in Israel, and that's not true. Israel didn't give them citizenship. If the Israelis given all the Palestinians citizenship, then we won't be having this argument, right? So, and also, thank you, Dan. Actually, I thank you all because you are making my argument better than I am, in fact. You said very clearly Muslims can live in Israel with full rights, but they do not get sovereignty over the land. Correct? Correct. So this sentence is the whole debate. You are not defending equality here, Dan. You are defending civil permission without national equality. You're saying Palestinians may live, work, maybe even vote, exist perhaps, but the ultimate ownership of the state and the land must remain Jewish. This is exactly what I mean by Jewish supremacy as a state structure. Now, you brought up the Palestinian Authority basic law and said Islamic Sharia is a source of law for that. Fine, I do not deny that, but that does not refute my argument. It proves that many states in the region have religious identity in their legal framework. The question is not whether Muslim majority...
Well, he's not exactly wrong there. I'll explain why he's not. For example, Kurds want to be free. Kurdish have their own practices, even though there's such thing as a Kurdish Muslim, a Kurdish Christian, a Kurdish Jew, but they all have their own practices, their own language, their own culture. So like back in the day, even though I don't have a problem with Reza Pahlavi, I don't really bring him up, but I'm just using this as an example. If you study like the early days of Iran, I was reading this. I don't really bring this up in my streams because I don't want to chase away my Iranian friends. So sources say that the Kurds were not really allowed to practice their religion or whatever that back in the Pahlavi days, but there are other empires who did that too way before the Persian Empire. So you just got to read about that stuff. So, and then not a lot of people know that the Alawites are technically considered Shia. So there's always been these differences when it came to this. So like when they say, oh, you don't get to practice religion, then he should really read about other groups too. It's not just the Jews. It's the Kurdish had this problem, and then when the Sunnis were taken away and the Shia militants showed up, a lot of the problems came on the Kurdish. First, it was the Alawites when Assad was an Alawite himself. So these problems, they come and go. It's nothing new. For example, even though I do not support this at all, I call this a little stupid if you look at it. It's Christians may not have a divide, but there's a lot of disagreements that they have with each other. And someone Jewish actually told me that. I didn't believe it at first. Is that how they have a problem rejecting the Catholics? And then another thing that they have is that when they have I forgot which Christian group did not tell me that they consider themselves the only Christians, just like Arabs hold a superior high standard for themselves. But anywho, away from that, this he should be reviewing. I feel Dan should say that part because it's not just one. There are many groups who still don't have rights today. Did my screen just freeze? Yes, it did. I'll give it a few minutes. But like, see what I mean? Is that a lot of people don't know this information, and it amazes me that how they don't know versus what they do know. And this is the stuff people need to look at. I'll give it a few minutes if it unfreezes. But this is the stuff I feel Dan is incorrect. He needs to study what happened to the Kurds and why Kurds never had the rights. There was a time the Alawites, who would be considered Shia Muslims, who don't have the right. And in early history, there's many Muslims like the Balochis, the Kashmiris, the Kurds, and then Pakistan has Sinds, and all these other Muslim groups who still don't have rights today versus what's around. So these are the things people should be looking at. If you look carefully, it doesn't say to hurt other Muslims, but Muslims do it anyway. They hurt other Muslim groups who are different background and culture, all for the Shia Sunni tribe, and that's not true. It doesn't say to hurt other Muslims, but people do it anyway and state their own rules like, oh, it's okay to do that. No, it is not okay to do that. It's actually pretty bogus if you look at it, but people do it. And this is what I say all the time, that half of the rules are man-made. People just don't see it yet. People don't believe it yet. People don't see it yet. No, it is man-made rules throughout time. If you were to match the book, I'll give you 5 examples. Where does the book say that you need to kill other Muslims? People do it. Where does it say to take people's faith, like the Kurdish or all these other practices, like sheiks, for example? I don't know much about the sheiks. People take away their practices. The book does not say those things. That also, so like using religion. Another example I can give is the book says that you have to build a community and be fair to the community, which is why you give zakat in the first place. But the leadership is not fair to anyone. Ever wondered my dad why he curses at the military so much? He doesn't curse because it's a military. He curses because there's a lot of injustice from the military, and he finds that unfair. And I never understood why would he do that all the time. But historically, it is true. Just like Iranians, away from the Ayatollahs, there's like the Kurds, the Turkics, and all these other groups. But according to sources, like some of them do get along, some of them don't get along with the Persians. So there's all these weirdo problems in these territories for years, from empires till now. What is one little narrative going to do? Nothing. Because these groups, they have their history linked to the land. It's like a saying, okay? Away from the Levant Arabs, which would be the Palestinian Arabs, away from that, Jews are linked to one land, but many ethnic groups are linked to one land. Jews are one ethnic group linked to one land, but there's like 6, 7 ethnic groups linked to one land. Not one. 6, 7 groups. So like, for example, if you go to Iran, Persians are one group. Kurdish are one group. There's the Turkics and some, unfortunately, history today, yes. Some Persian Arabs and the Balochis are part of that tribe too. So you're looking at all these other ethnic groups linked to Iran. It is not one group. That's not all of Iran. That's just one Persian. It's just one group. okay? And it came after the Greeks and a couple of other empires much later, after the Greeks and some other empires that ran Iran before them, but that were required to study the country's history. Persian Empire is way later. Same for, like, if you were to study the French history in the South Asians, people would be like the Sheiks, the Hindus, Baloch, and all these other people who are also linked to the tribe. They share history together and they share the Farsi language together, all this other stuff that people do not want to pay attention to, right? And it's interesting that how people do not know this information, because Jews is one group linked to Israel, but that's not how all the other lands are linked to. Like, for example, I bet you Lebanon has ethnic groups too. I just never looked in because Lebanon is not really my place to say what it's about, but I'm sure the history is there. It's not like the history is not there. I'm sure it's there. It's just people don't really like to look into Lebanon's history. And who were the ethnic groups for Lebanon? In fact, let's take a look at how many ethnic groups are linked to Lebanon. Let's ask. How many ethnic groups linked to Lebanon? Today. Simple answer. All this is important so people understand what's happening to their rights throughout time. So, oh boy, there's a lot. Look at all that. And let me share it. So this is what it gave me. Right here, let's see. So all these stuff, it matters in history today, even though my computer just froze for Twitter again. So here, I'll show this. So here they are at to see. Right here, all these ethnic groups, they are linked to the land of Lebanon. So Arabs, Phoenicians, Maronite Christian community, Druze, Armenians, Greeks, Assyrians, Kurds, Palestinians, and Syrians. All these ethnic groups are linked to Lebanon's history, right? But, like, for example, I was just reviewing this, the Greeks Empire also has a link to Iranian history. And not many people know that, but yes, same for Armenians. They have their own empire history and linked to what land. So all these ethnic groups, no exact number, many are connected to the area modern day Lebanon throughout history. All these people are connected to Lebanon. And not many people like to look into this stuff. Yes, only Jews, okay, let me repeat myself. Only Jews are linked to Israel, but that's not every other group. There's 5, 6, 7 groups linked to one land, not one, like the Jews are. Jews are one, and you're linked to one land. Okay, no problem. But every other group, they don't have a history like that. There's 5, 6, 7 ethnic groups who are linked to one land and who are still fighting for the rights. Even today, they still don't have it. Some do, some were granted from the gift book of God, whatever you want to call it, but not everybody. No. Everybody still don't have rights today. And that's how history is still going today. That all different ethnic groups, they still don't have rights today, and they're still fighting for their rights today. Unfortunately, let me see if I can get my Twitter, otherwise we're going to have to end it because I don't want people to get here longer. Let me try one last time. Is it working or not? Let's see. Because I'm not going to start this thing all over again. It's because there's no forward button, and I don't want it to start all over. That would be like retarded of me. So it looked like it just backed out. So if away from the freeze, if anybody understood what they said, yes. There's some stuff I do agree with, but then there's some stuff I don't agree with from both directions. And I explained my reason why. Like how Huda should not be saying that. Why religion? He should understand that Palestinians do use religion as their personal cause. Like, oh, for religion, we need to take this land. That's a lie. And Dan is accurately correct over there. But when it comes to religion, why did they harm Kuwait? Why did they harm Iraq? Why did they harm Egypt? Why did they harm Jordan? And then now today, these countries are stepping forward, explaining, like, even though people are giving them threats, like, oh no, Palestinians need to have a state, yada, yada, yada. You can't shake hands with Israel until they have a state. And some people are getting tired of it because they can never forget what they've done. But not all Muslims are linked to this, even though some people are having identity disorder. I like to say they're having identity disorder that, hey, you are not part of the Arab tribe, so the Palestinian Arab cause should not be your problem. And that is linked to the Arab tribe, rather they're Levante Arabs, whatever they are. That should not be your problem. And they should not be a reason for you to hate Israel. Because just like I showed my early stream that there's B'nai Israel linked to Pakistan, how synagogues were made in Israel. The Pashtuns are also part of the Israeli tribe. All this stuff is linked to the South Asian, and many Muslims don't even understand it because they're so focused on one ethnic damn Levant Arab groups, which are the Palestinians. They can't even remember their own identity, which is sad. Some of us do. No, you have your own identity. You have your own tribe. You have your own history with Jews. Your history is not with Arabs. Your history with Jews is not linked to Arabs. And people need to look into that because every history with the Jews is different. South Asian Jewish history with the Muslim is different. Coptics, even though some say Coptics are ethnic groups, there's such thing as a Coptic Christian and a Coptic Muslim who follow the faith, but in the end, they're still considered Coptic, right? So there's many groups like that, many. And people don't know about them. Kurds, just because there's Kurdish Muslim does not mean they speak a separate language, look at their different practices. No, nothing like that. All have a specific practice, and the culture comes from the land that you live in, not the practice of religion. People need to get that right. That is not religion. No, sorry. Your culture does not come from religion. Your culture comes from your country. So Arab dressing is not going to be like South Asian dressing. I just posted on my Twitter page that what do Yemenites and UAE and Syrians, what they dress like, and you've seen what Pakistani people dress like. Afghani had that culture. India had that culture. Iran once upon a time had that culture before the Persian Empire. Many people come from that tribe. Okay, it's nothing new, even if people feel like, oh, it's something. No, it is not new. It's part of the tribe. Culture comes from your country, tribe, background. It's not the religion. And some people have identity disorder, having that mixed up that, oh, this is my culture. No, it is not your culture. Your faith is not supposed to be your culture. That is accurately incorrect. Faith is supposed to be what you believe in and what you wish to follow. That has nothing to do with your culture. Culture is from the country. So I'm going to land my plane here, and I'm sorry I couldn't finish the stream because this page, it's been glitchy for so freaking long. I don't understand. I know that I'll try to show you one last clip from Muhammad, what he stated to Muhammad Hijab. They're both clowns, but yeah, there's another debate coming next week, I believe Tuesday. It's going to have a Daniel, it's going to have Muhammad Hijab and this guy debating again. And I wonder what he's going to say to Muhammad Hijab and Daniel, but I will give it a try if my page is not frozen. I'll show you what he said to Muhammad Hijab for a conclusion, but I'm not going to play this thing all over again. I'm going to exit this out and just show you what he said to Muhammad Hijab for a conclusion. So I hope people understand that how things taking place, there seems to be some type of mistake here, and people are mixed with identity versus the faith. Faith is just faith. It's not your culture. Culture comes from the country. And that's what people have a difficult time understanding with. Like, for example, I've seen a lot of Pakistanis today suddenly. It's a lab, actually. They're suddenly confused, calling themselves, oh, we are Arabs. No, you're not Arabs. Bro, you're not Arab. Stop trying to be like Arabs. You're not Arabs. They're like, oh, but this says officially how we're connected to Arabs. No, bro. You are not Arabs. And it's funny how Pakistanis are suddenly reacting like they have some Arab connection when that's not true. Arab's connection actually grew in Pakistan after Raza Pahlavi was stepped down, Ayatollah took place, and how Wahhabism was sold to Pakistan. Otherwise, Pakistan had its own practices, had its own little thing, and not a lot of people know that, but that is historically true. Oh, look! I'm looking at it right now. Muhammad Hijab took another video down. I wonder if I can find it. What him and Hoda talked about as a conclusion for the day. I wonder if it's still up. But yeah, I'll call that my conclusion video. Okay, so here it is. Let's see, we'll call this a conclusion video for today. And yeah, I cannot open that anymore. My ex Twitter, and I'm not gonna re-listen to all that again because it's a recording. You cannot forward it. It's either start from the beginning all over again or don't listen to anything at all. Okay, so we'll call this a conclusion video, that how he debated Dr. Huda, even though I feel like he's retarded. Hijab is, no doubt, he is retarded, but yeah, we'll call this our conclusion video, what he stated to Huda.
So you condemn MBS? You condemn MBS then?
Absolutely not.
So you condemn MBS? You condemn MBS then?
Absolutely not.
So you condemn MBS?
Okay, so pause. This idiot, this should not be his problem, number one. I don't understand why do Muslims get into Arab affairs when it's not their war. I laugh about that all the time. So this little childish debate, it's actually a laugh for me. Number one, you're not Arab. Okay, I'm saying it. You're not Arab, so why are you asking another Arab what he condemns or not condemns? It has nothing to do with you, man. You're not Arab. Two, why are you asking another Arab to condemn in his leader what he's going to do and what he's not going to do? I mean, come on, man. That's like saying, okay, first of all, if this is what I call hypocritical leaders, okay? You are condemning Arab to say shit to Mohammed bin Salman and not to sign the Abrahamic Accords. My lifetime question, what does that have anything to do with you? Please tell me. I would love to know, what does that have anything to do with you? Your government has nothing to do with the Arab tribe. You're a separate tribe. And this is something I asked Anila too. Why the heck are Pakistanis fighting their tribal neighbors like Afghanistan, India, Baloch, all for the Arab tribal war? Does that even make sense? And the Arabs don't seem to care. They don't seem to care at all. So why are you worried about them? Rather Arabs say yes to the Abrahamic Accords, Saudi Arabia or not, what are you doing in their business? And them saying yes has nothing to do with you. You're a separate tribe, dude. What are you doing over there? Like, you hold Israel history because this is what Muslims don't like to study. If they type it just on Google, what location is linked to Israel, like for example, the Bnei Israel location, it was a synagogue. A couple of synagogues took place in Karachi. And there's a Jewish graveyard still stands in Karachi. It's labeled literally Israel in the country. So if you're saying Israel's not in the Quran and all this, and then you tell Arabs that, oh, you Wahhabis are Zionists. Well, of course they're going to be Zionists because Arab and Ishmael were half brothers. If you say this is part of Islam, then you should know that the double sons of Abraham wasn't Arab. It wasn't a Pashtun. It wasn't a Baloch. It wasn't a Kashmiri Muslim. It was Arab. It was an Arab son and Arab descendants of Ishmael, right? It wasn't the Pashtuns, Balochi Muslims. It was an Arab. Prophet Muhammad was not Baloch. Prophet Muhammad was not Kashmiri. He wasn't of any of these Muslims. He was Arab. So telling an Arab that, oh, you don't know this, you don't know, without having to understand that your own prophet was Arab and you're going to make a debate about this, to me, that is so redundant and stupid. I'm not going to listen to all of this, but I'm just showing you a sample how stupid people can be. And half of this social media influence, nobody should take seriously. Okay, it's redundant. It doesn't match any of the sources. It doesn't match any of the ethics of the teaching. It doesn't match anything at all. And you're gonna sit here and do a stream and look like a clown, then be my guest. To me, Muhammad Hijab is a clown. I understand Dr. Who does he can be anti-Semitic sometimes, but his views, like for example, when he said Israel does not control America, it's the other way around, and not many Israelis believed him. But now that they know that who really makes the rules, and everybody's quiet. That's one pointer he did make, that Israel does not control America. It's the other way around. He may be anti-Semitic because in the end, right now, there's no peace yet, but that doesn't mean he's been like, how should I put it? He has his own preferences, but in front of Muhammad Hijab, who would I would give it vote to, I would give it to him, because Muhammad Hijab, he's stupid. He's stupid. None of his sources match at all. And I laugh about this all the time. He can report my stream. Be my guest. I'll know who did it. He can report my stream, but I've said it. The cause of his divorce is his own low IQ and low third-class personality. That's the cause of his divorce. Just a preview of it. So yeah, he's retarded. He doesn't know how stuff work. Those who he's calling Zoroastrian, this, that, without having to understand, if you're Pakistani, then the Farsi people are part of your tribe. So who are you exactly judging? The people are part of your tribe? And what logic are you exactly following? Yeah, to me, this guy's an idiot. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about in what format. Calling Arab Zionists, but you're saying it to Christians. Oh, Judaism and Christianity and Islam have so many similarities, but you are rejecting the scripture where Abraham had two sons and one of them was an Arab descendant and one of them was Jewish, and that's how they are connected. And you were talking about similarities from a third world dimension cloud? Yeah, you're a retarded influence to me, even for children. There, I said it. So that's when don't never underestimate what you see, because sometimes what you see, it can be the paid propaganda or any type of lie. You should always study what you see. And I just showed you a sample how retarded he is. You are not even an Arab, and you're going to condemn an Arab what his leader does, right? Very smart. Yeah, right. So take care, y'all. I'm going to get ready to end this stream, and hopefully we have something next week. And I'm going to see if I can catch that too. I'll show you in Daniel and Muhammad Hijab debate. It's going to be a type stream. And don't go by social media influence. That's my best advice to everyone. Do your own research, dig behind doors, study the history and timeline from 1990s to America and other empires, study other empires and how many wars different countries got into. That should explain everything, because wars never happened in one way. It happened multiple ways. Take care, y'all.